The survival trial had one rule: build a shelter using only natural materials. The Galactic Academy's instructors had scattered the candidates across the forest moon, each accompanied by a pack of young Vrexian cubs who would evaluate their leadership and problem-solving skills. Kalen stood in the clearing, surrounded by 6 furry cubs whose amber eyes watched him with mixture of curiosity and skepticism. The smallest one, Vash, stepped forward with the authority that came naturally to pack leaders, even young ones. "Human Kalen," Vash announced in his high-pitched voice, "we have removed all obvious shelter options per instructor protocol. No caves within 5 kilometers. No overhanging rocks. No fallen logs large enough for cover. You have until nightfall, when temperature drops to dangerous levels." Kalen knelt down to Vash's eye level, noting how the other cubs unconsciously formed a protective semicircle behind their leader. "Thank you for the briefing, Vash. Can you tell me what materials are forbidden?" Vash's ears twitched in surprise. Most candidates immediately started panicking or demanding exceptions. "You may not use manufactured items. Everything must come from this forest." "Perfect." Kalen smiled and looked around the clearing. While the instructors had removed obvious shelters, they couldn't remove the forest itself. "Vash, I need your pack's help. Are you willing to work with me?" The cubs exchanged glances. In Vrexian culture, adults commanded and children obeyed. Asking for cooperation was unusual. "What kind of help?" Vash asked cautiously. "Observation help. Your senses are sharper than mine." Kalen pointed to the tree line. "I need to know where the willow-like trees grow, the ones with flexible branches. And I need to find clay deposits near water. Can your pack scout while I gather materials here?" Vash's tail started wagging despite his attempt to maintain leadership dignity. "We can do that. Mira, take 2 cubs to the stream. Look for gray mud that sticks together. Jex, you and Cora search for flexible trees. I'll stay with the human." The cubs scattered with enthusiastic barks. Kalen began examining the clearing more carefully. The grass grew thick here, good insulation. Small saplings dotted the edges, perfect for framework. He started pulling up armfuls of the long grass, laying them in neat bundles. "What are you doing?" Vash asked, sitting on his haunches. "Grass won't keep rain out." "Not by itself," Kalen agreed, continuing to work. "But grass traps air, and air is one of nature's best insulators. Layer it correctly, and it keeps warmth in and cold out." Within an hour, the scout teams returned. Myra's group had found clay deposits and returned with mud-covered paws. Jex had located a grove of willows. Kalen praised each team enthusiastically, noting how the cubs stood taller with each word of appreciation. "All right, team, here's the plan." Kalen drew in the dirt with a stick. "We're building what my ancestors called a wiki-up, a dome-shaped shelter. Vash, I need your strongest cubs to help me bend these saplings. Mira, your team will gather more grass and start weaving it into mats. Jex, you'll help me harvest willow branches." "You're giving us real jobs," Vash observed, his tone thoughtful. "Not just making us watch. You're not just observers, Vash. You're my construction crew. Besides, your size is actually an advantage. You can weave grass tighter than my big fingers can." The cubs threw themselves into the work with surprising dedication. Kalen showed them how to bend young saplings into arches, securing them in a circular pattern. The flexible willows wove between the saplings, creating a lattice framework. The structure began taking shape, a dome roughly 2 meters in diameter. Vash watched Kalen work, his analytical mind clearly processing something. Other candidates would have built faster alone. Why include us? Kalen paused, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Because faster isn't always better, Vash. And because you'll remember how to do this long after I'm gone. Knowledge shared is knowledge preserved." By mid-afternoon, the frame stood complete. Now came the crucial weatherproofing. Kalen showed the cubs how to layer grass in overlapping bundles, starting from the bottom and working upward like shingles on a roof. The smaller cubs could crawl inside and secure the inner layers while the larger ones worked outside. "The clay comes last," Kalen explained, mixing the mud Myra's team had gathered with more grass to create a primitive daub. "We'll seal the gaps, but leave a smoke hole at the top and a door flap we can close." "Why the smoke hole?" asked one of the younger cubs. "Fire," Kalen said simply. "Warmth and light. We'll build a small fire pit inside, lined with stones to contain the heat. The smoke hole lets the smoke out while keeping the warmth in." As the sun began setting, they applied the final clay layer. The shelter stood complete, a grass-covered dome that looked almost like a natural hill. Kalen had even woven a door flap from willow branches and grass. "Gather around," Kalen said, and the exhausted cubs clustered near. He pulled out the emergency fire starter from his basic survival kit, one of the few manufactured items permitted. Within minutes, a small fire crackled inside the shelter, its warmth already radiating through the space. The cubs filed inside, their eyes wide with wonder. The layered grass insulation worked perfectly. The shelter felt genuinely warm and dry. There was enough room for all 7 of them with space to spare. Vash settled beside Kalen, his professional demeanor finally cracking into a genuine smile. "You taught us everything you did. You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," Kalen replied, gently ruffling the fur between Vash's ears. "Because one day, you might need to build something with nothing, or teach someone else how to survive. That's what humans do. Vash, we share knowledge. We work together. We turn nature from an obstacle into an ally." Outside, the temperature plummeted. Inside their grass and clay home, 7 beings from 2 different worlds sat warm and safe, bound together by shared effort and mutual respect. When the instructors arrived at dawn, they found all 7 candidates sleeping peacefully in their handmade shelter. Vash's evaluation report was the shortest in Academy history. Recommend immediate acceptance. The human builds communities, not just shelters.